Hey everybody, this is Max Conserva here with Logan Farr. We're going to go over the deadlift now for people with lower limb impairments. And so when we're talking about a lower limb impairment, we're talking about potentially multiple issues here in terms of range of motion and strength in the joint, and also geometric changes or potential geometric changes. So when we look at Logan's BK amputation, he's not going to have any ability to dorsiflex his foot or any ability to resist knee flexion with his ankle. What this basically means for us is as we do deadlifting, we're going to run into our common faults, but we're going to hit them more frequently, and we're going to be hitting them in a more extreme way. So I'll show you one example of one of the common things we need to pay attention to when we deadlift, which is keeping those shins vertical. And now normally if we tilt forward on those with those knees, we simply disengage a posterior chain, but we have an added difficulty with an amputee, which is actually coming up on the toe and losing ground compliance. So I'm going to have Logan here get into a quarter squat. Try to keep your heels on the ground at first. So this is the starting position of our deadlift. Now if we have the knees come forward to any degree, watch what happens to the lower foot. We come up on the heel. This is a really unstable position, and it doesn't allow us to actually push the floor away and drive through the heels. The second piece we talk about is the commonality of faults. So one of the common faults we see with deadlifting is compensation in the upper torso to compensate for lack of hamstring length. So as I have Logan come over here and step up to the bar, Logan, please pick the bar up for me, all the way up to the top of the hang. Beautiful. Come down into a quarter squat in the deadlift. Now as Logan runs out of room in his hamstring, a common strategy for us as the bar passes by our knees is to tilt our knees forward. Again, he can't do that. So what we often see is, Logan, would you continue down a little bit further, is a break in the lumbar spine right there. In addition to that, we often see a dumping of the shoulders. Thank you, Logan. Go ahead and stand back up. So these are things you see in a normal athlete commonly. However, unfortunately, this happens much more frequently with adaptive athletes with zero use of their ankle. Now, as you can see, what we've done is brought the weights up to Logan, decreasing the range of motion we're requiring him to go down. This is going to make it much easier for him to maintain a stable spine. And the beautiful thing about this is as we get better and better in this range of motion, we can keep removing plates to work on that next inch, that next 2 inch. So I'm going to have Logan go ahead and demonstrate this lift for us off the plates. Beautiful, Logan. Back down. One more time. Awesome. Lower the weights. Good work. This is a great tool to work with adaptive athletes. Other things I often do as well is changing up the implement. So a barbell is nothing special. It's just an object to use to carry a lot of weight. We also have dumbbells, we have kettlebells, and actually one of my favorites is a trap bar. We can still carry a lot of weight potentially, but it allows us to change where the center of gravity is by not having an ankle, either the range of motion or the strength to control your knee. Being able to change where the weight is centered around your body can make it a lot easier to balance for adaptive athletes. One last note is, depending on the type of adaptive athlete we're working with, if it's a BK, we have the issues we described. If it's an AK, we actually see all the same issues except to an even greater extent, greater range. We're potentially bringing the bar up even higher and might never even get all the way to the ground. For us, if we're talking about high repetitions and a high weight, we want to make sure we're working within a safe position always. Logan, for example, is actually a bilateral with very long residual limbs. And when I spoke earlier about potential geometric problems, Logan actually has an extra 3 inches of height that he otherwise would not have. So essentially when he's lifting, he's doing deficit deadlifts in comparison to the rest of us. So having a 45-pound plate in the ground and lifting off is actually equivalent in terms of his torso and leg distance to an able-bodied person pulling off the floor. So we always need to search for these geometric differences to make sure we're actually doing the same exercise and not asking our adaptive athletes to go above and beyond what the standards are for everybody else.